Hey, everybody. Welcome to this edition of the What Worked for You podcast. Now, on today's show, we're going to be talking about a subject that lots of people think about in this country and really nationwide. And that's going from the world of corporate life to entrepreneurship. Now, there's a ton of people out there that have tons of exciting ideas, services they want to provide, products they want to make, things that are really near and dear and give them a lot of passion, but they don't take the plunge. Why not? There could be trepidation, there could be fear, there's concerns. Sometimes they're working really good corporate jobs that pay a lot of money, and it's like, hey, if I make the shift and it doesn't work out, what happens? So a lot of things hold people back. Should these things really be that big a deal? I don't know. But today I'm interviewing Sean Young. And Sean has made this jump successfully. He's a successful entrepreneur. He started out focused in real estate. So he's a very successful real estate investor. He's also a great real estate coach, but also he has a company that employs people to service businesses in providing customer service and systemization and really streamlining processes to help them succeed. So he has made that jump from successful corporate employee to successful entrepreneur, and we're so thrilled to have him here. Sean, thanks for coming. How are you doing today?
Wow, thanks for that great introduction, Frank. Thanks for having me, brother. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Awesome, awesome. Well, let's dive right in. You were successful in corporate America. You were in the medical field, and you were very good at what you did. And you made the jump to go to entrepreneurship. Now, of course, along the way, you acquired a number of skills. If you can master any skill today, looking back, of course, that would make the transition from corporate to entrepreneurship, what would that skill be so that that transition could be as effective as possible?
Okay, great question. Now, actually, I come from the world of sales. I was a sales executive prior to real estate, and that sales skill set was, I think, is the most important thing that I took from the corporate world into the entrepreneurial world, because it is a different mindset. But that skill set of sales, it's going to be there no matter if you're doing it for a company or if you're doing it for yourself.
Okay, so sales then is the thing. Now, there's a lot of stereotypes around that word sales,
Mhm.
right? So how, like, what made you go into sales? Or was that natural for you? Or were you like so many people that when you hear sales, we shudder, we think about the used car salesman, or you go to the mall and someone's like, hey, can I help you? And you're like, I'm just looking, right? So what, like, is this something that came natural to you, or did you develop the skills? Because this is a subject that there's tons of salespeople, but a lot of salespeople don't make a lot of money. They don't have a lot of success out of it. It doesn't come naturally to them. Like, what gives with this subject of sales?
Well, Frank, with sales, after me leaving the military, I needed to figure out what I was gonna do, and I gave a stab at it. I had, just like you, all the stereotypes that you said. It's so funny because I thought all those same things, like the cringe sales car guy, or the person in the middle of the mall who's stopping you every few steps. Hey, I got this. Hey, I got that. So that wasn't the type of sales that I went into. Luckily, I stumbled into corporate sales. It was business to business. I initially started out selling software, and I sold millions of dollars worth of software per year. And I didn't know that I was going to be good at it. I was good at communicating. I was good at speaking with people. The military helped me with that. My prior childhood, my father was in the military, so we lived all over the country, all over the world. So I've learned to really develop rapport with people pretty quickly. You had to make friends. So I've learned to make friends, learn how to communicate and speak with people, and that translated into sales, because that's really all that you're doing is having a good conversation, transferring what are the value that they're looking for, making sure that you articulate that and getting it over to them.
Oh no, that's awesome. That's awesome. So this is not something that came natural to you. You did things that helped develop that skill set.
Yes.
Now it's about to be 2024.
Hmm.
And we're a little bit older now, so the world is a little more technologically advanced. So the question I have for you then is thinking about how you learn sales versus someone learning it today, where we become so technology communication dependent, where a lot of people don't even, they almost don't even want to talk to each other. Like, what would you say to someone that's young, that was you many years back, that wanted to take this path, but they're used to technology doing a lot of communication instead of, like you just said, being conversation?
Well, guys, we are in the world of technology. 100%. AI is here. I don't foresee it going anywhere at all. Only foresee it becoming more entangled or incorporated into our everyday lives. So, what Frank just said is highly important. The AI is a great tool to help with the communication on an automated aspect, but the human element that's needed in the communication it's always going to be there. So having those good communication, those interpersonal skills, being able to communicate, that's going to be, it's never going to go away. So don't rely too heavily on the technology or on the AI being able to take that aspect over for you, because the human element will always be needed and it will always overpower the automated element.
Wow, wow. So the human element is here to stay, it sounds like.
It definitely is. Definitely is.
No, that's good. That's good. Well, and I know you're a very relational person, so that, but for a lot of people it doesn't come natural. So I think it's good for people to hear that. It's good for people to know that. And it kind of touches on a thought that I had, which was, some people, it almost feels like a challenge communicating with other people. And I've literally seen where people, if you ask them to want to communicate or cold call someone, it's like they'll break down into tears. And you're just like, it's just a phone call, right? But, we've heard of things like fear of public speaking and those sorts of things. So now that you're on the entrepreneurial side, do you get to spend time coaching people on helping them speak publicly and teach and communicate better to get deals? Like, is that part of what you do in the coaching side of things?
I don't so much teach how to speak publicly, but definitely I'm teaching folks communication skills, negotiating skills, good listening skills. That's why we've got two ears and one mouth. We want to be good listeners as well as speakers. So I teach folks how to listen, what things to listen for in communication, how to quickly build rapport with people by listening to what that person that you're speaking with is saying. Scan the room, listen to what you're hearing in the background. If it's phone communication, all those will be things that'll give you an advantage when you are having those conversations.
Gotcha. So when you transitioned, because you went into, as I understand it, real estate first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how did you go about linking your prior sales skills to what you just described? Because yes, you're communicating, but obviously it's like sales in corporate versus sales in real estate. It's like the same, but two different languages in some respect. So how did you link that together? Walk us through that.
Man, I tell you, Frank, at first it was pretty tough because, like you say, I was used to the corporate world, and when you're coming from that corporate world, you've got the backing of the company that you're with. So you're used to say, we're the largest at doing this, or our company. You're used to using the accolades of the company to kind of help get you, into the doorway, or help um, with people taking you serious, so to speak. You're able to use the company's reputation. When you're an entrepreneur, it's you solely out there making cold calls. You're drumming up business. You're having to really get in the trenches. Put your hard hat on, because you're gonna take some abuse. It's gonna be tough. Trailblaze. Anytime you blaze a trail, it's gonna be tough. You're gonna take hits. You're gonna get hit from bushes, scrapes and scuffs. All that will come. So be prepared for that. So the main things that I took translating over from the old world corporate in my new world is to gain confidence in myself by going through the reps. making those phone calls, being uncomfortable as much as I possibly could so that it wasn't uncomfortable for me any longer.
Wow. So when you're uncomfortable, and that's not a popular word today, is being uncomfortable, right? Like technology, it's like how comfortable can we make ourselves?
Mhm.
And now you're talking about let's be as uncomfortable as possible, which is like the opposite of what the iPhone or the Android is today, right?
That's where the
So
growth happens.
there you go. So when you were going through this uncomfortable period, did that feel like a sacrifice? Because a lot of times when you're an entrepreneur, those early days, there's a lot of sacrifices, right? And so now you're effectively, what I'm hearing is there's a lot of sacrifice of comfort. I mean, is that something you would agree with?
100%, 1000% would agree. You're going to have to, like I say, get used to being uncomfortable. It's a new world for you. You're used to getting a paycheck every week or every 2 weeks or however often your employer pays you. So it's a level of, again, it's a mindset, because now that I've left that world, to me, that's super scary. That's super uncomfortable. There's no comfort. There's no, not comfort. There's no, security in that, the way that I initially thought. I was like, man, I'm with a big corporation. That's what's going to keep me secure. This company will be around forever. But it's not the company being around forever that's important. It's the direction that that company decides to go. And it's their prerogative to go in any direction that they choose. And if you don't find yourself in that, new mold, then you're going to have to figure out a new way. So again, Frank, I was a casualty of corporate America. I was laid off from a high six-figure job. I was the top 3% in the nation for at least 10 years. So I was very good at what I did. So it was definitely a shift for me. And it was a sacrifice that I would never trade it for anything else, because without sacrifice, there's no reward. Like without big, huge, good, big risk, there's no big reward. We hear that phrase all the time, and that ties right into the sacrifice. You guys, if you're out there in a comfort space, but your heart and your desire is to want to get out there and create a business and a path for yourself and your family, go out there and do it now. Don't wait for the opportune time. There will never be the opportune time. The time is now.
Love it. I love it. The time indeed is now, and time is moving faster than ever, it seems, with the way technology is driving the world. But wow, no, that's great. So you got into real estate. So now you're making sacrifices, you're totally uncomfortable. And like, why real estate? Like you were in sales in corporate America. Like there's a lot of things you can be an entrepreneur in. Like, why real estate? What was the driver there?
Great question. I'd always heard that you could make a lot of money in real estate, and that was the quickest path to becoming a millionaire. So I was like, hey, let me give it a shot. I've been making millions and millions of dollars for corporations, always hitting the six figures, but never hitting that seven-figure mark. So I said, hey, let me go out there and give it a stab myself. And guys, I failed horribly for the first year at it. I won't say I failed. Maybe I just didn't have the proper direction, because I was willing and able to go try it. I just didn't know what I was to do. I went to a seminar, paid a lot of money. At the end, they hyped me up. I went to the back, laid down my credit card, paid down $30,000, and for a whole year, guys, I didn't do much but study and go through courses and modules and courses and modules. And I almost gave up. I gave myself a 30-day runway to say, hey, if I don't make this happen, I'm going back to corporate America. I've got a family, I have responsibilities, so I've got to make something happen. So that's what I did. I gave myself 30 days, guys, and within that 30-day time period, within 2 weeks, I had a deal, which is, we call it a sandwich lease option, and that sandwich lease option ultimately yielded me a $72,000 payday. And within 30 more days, I had 11 more deals under contract, which were wholesale deals. So that was my interest into the real estate space. My sales background definitely helped me out, but it wasn't necessary, but it definitely helped.
Wow. So 72,000 for a first deal. That's not common. So congratulations on that. But then you said 11 deals not too long after that. Did I hear that correctly? 11.
11 deals, Frank. I had 11 deals. And out of those 11 deals, 7 closed. And then for like 8 months, it was crickets, nothing. And the reason why is why I created the company, which is, Manpower Virtual, which provides virtual assistance to folks all over the world. That's why I created that company, is because I couldn't figure out, why did my business halt? Why am I not getting any more? I thought this was going to be like taking candy from a baby, so to speak. This seems so easy. But what it was, guys, is I didn't have systems in place. I didn't have processes, nor did I have someone who could execute if I was not willing or able to execute on a continual daily basis for my business. So that's why I created a company for myself to do those things.
Wow. So you had a great honeymoon, so to speak.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden it got really quiet. And out of
Yes.
that birthed a whole nother idea in your entrepreneurial journey. I mean, that's awesome. And so, I want everyone to hearing this to know, just as you start down one path, other paths can be birthed from this, just like has happened to Sean here. But I got to ask you, Sean, while you had the amazing honeymoon period, you had the crickets, and which sparked another entrepreneurial path along your journey. But in the midst of all of that, surely you came across a few misconceptions about real estate. Because you took the course, I took the course too, right? Like everyone takes the course. Doesn't matter who the course giver is, everyone goes through the course. Maybe not everyone, but most people.
Yeah.
And we find out, maybe this isn't exactly the way as it was sold. Tell me a little bit about what some of the things that you were sold, which you could relate to because you were in sales. So you already knew going in what good sales looked like, and yet you still spent the money and took the dive. But then reality came through. Like, what were some of the lessons learned through that?
Man, that is a great point, Frank. And that's just it. Being that I did come from sales, I thought I was super sharp and savvy. I'm like, hey, they're not going to sell me if it's not good, right? So I was bought into it all the way into it. And just because someone can sell you on something doesn't mean that the value that they're going to provide on the back end is going to be there. And it takes you as well. You have a responsibility also when you buy into a program or a new endeavor. You've got to put in just as much energy and effort as you're expecting that program or coach or course to put into you as well. But I'm telling you, Frank, I just didn't know what I didn't know. So I spent a lot of time learning concepts, learning terminology, learning a bunch of things that really had nothing at all to do with just going out there and taking action and failing my way forward, which was what actually started to get me the results. When I gave myself that 30-day window, I went out there and took action. Now, I wasn't just reading and learning concepts and theorizing it all. I was actually failing my way forward.
Failing your way forward. So speaking of failure then, and I mean, that's absolutely right. We all fail our way forward. What would you say was your biggest failure you came across, but now looking back, what you thought was a big failure actually ended up being your biggest stepping stone?
I just spoke on it just a tad bit. That was my biggest failure because it made me feel like, man, what's wrong with me? Like, is there something wrong with me? Like I got this level of success, but it's fleeting. It's like it's running away from me. No, it wasn't running away from me, guys. It was just the fact that I didn't, again, have systems and processes in place to ensure that it could keep going. So what seemed like a bleak, dark, dead end for me actually was the light bulb that came on to say, how can I solve this problem for myself so that I actually have a real estate business that's generating money for me, that has processes in place where if I'm not involved, will it continue to make money without me? Absolutely. Once I figured that out and figured out how to do it, I said, I can't be the only person that has this challenge. So other people, they've got to be in my same shoes. They need help. They need virtual assistants. They need someone making these calls, doing the research, pulling lists, skip tracing. cold calling, all the things that you as an entrepreneur really don't have the bandwidth to always do, nor is it advantageous for your organization to be spending time on those type of activities. So being able to outsource them was a huge boost for not only my real estate company, but again, I was able to create a whole new company out of what seemed like a travesty.
Wow. So in that failure was born now a thriving business.
Yes, two thriving businesses out of that failure. Absolutely.
Two businesses out of one failure. Now that's getting your mileage worth, right? There you go. Love it. I love it. No, and that's and and we need that inspiration. We need that. And inspiration is maybe not even the best word, but just kind of like just the opening of the eyes of, hey, just as something quote unquote bad happened, it's really where's the opportunity? And you didn't just find the opportunity, you found it twice out of,
Absolutely.
out of a dark day. Wow, wow. So let's talk about that. So you have all these resources that help in the virtual space.
Hmm.
And you started helping people in real estate there, and now
Hmm.
you're getting into other businesses because you realize, and people found out about you, and they're like, "Well, I need help. I don't do real estate, but I need help with that too."
Hmm.
And so, what's that looking like today, and how are you able to help and serve people in now what looks like multiple industries?
Great question. Absolutely. We pivoted from real estate into the other industries just because of what you said, strictly out of demand. We were getting so many folks coming from like the roofing industry or solar industry, and they were asking us, "Hey, do you have virtual assistants that can help us with our customer service, or can they help us with some outreach?" 100%, absolutely. It was just a we, of course, put the research into the industries. We came up with sales scripts, processes for the industries that we support. We dove deep into them to ensure that we could actually support those industries. We tried out a few customers, gave them a huge discount on their hourly VA rate because it was experimental. It was like an experimentation period for us. That worked out great, and now we're full steam ahead, guys. And we've been in business now for a couple of years, so we've got the virtual assistant process nailed down. We act as an HR department. That's how I want you guys to look at it. Not only do we provide you a virtual assistant, but we act as an HR department for you. So we don't just throw you somebody and say, good luck. We actually help you manage that virtual assistant, monitor that virtual assistant, and ensure that they're in line with your goals. So we're there to help you the entire way.
Excellent. So it sounds like your business is more focused on the fundamentals to make these things roll. Would that be an accurate statement?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's the fundamentals. It's the fundamentals of any organization. Developing SOPs. Do you have SOPs? What are your processes? What tools do you use to execute? What you're trying to accomplish. Are you aware of the tools? All of those things are client challenges. And guys, that brings me to another point. Frank has mentioned it a couple of times, and so have I. But if you hadn't picked up on this, guys, problem solving is the way that you make money. So if you want to make a lot of money out here, figure out how to solve problems. And that's really what we're doing here with the Manpower Virtual is we're solving problems for industries who need manpower. They need folks out there helping them out, but they need quality people doing it because again, they're roofers. That's what their expertise is in roofing. It's not necessarily in managing employees or hiring employees or knowing what they need on that aspect. So that's where we come in. We act again as a partner with you.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So people in other industries can come to you and say, hey, we need help with customer service, back office,
Mhm.
process implementation, that sort of thing. And you're able to come alongside of them, and you use the word partner. So it's
Mhm.
not like, you're literally coming alongside them in their business to help them. So it becomes something that they can implement for the long haul.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That is great. That is great. Well, we all know, it's interesting hearing that because I remember years ago, you would hear it in the real estate space about, hey, hire a VA, hire a VA. and just give them a few tasks, and easily the vast majority of the time it would not work out. And so what you're talking about is not that at all. It's really about the business coming alongside a business to form a synergy that really is a mutual benefit to both businesses.
You hit it right on the head. That's exactly what it is. It's a true partnership. We want to see our clients have success. We're not just bringing on clients to fill up seats. We want to see our clients actually succeed when they come on board with us.
Wonderful. Now, kind of picking up that piggybacking, I should say, off of that, what's an example of a system that you've implemented with a client, any industry, that has propelled them forward leaps and bounds, to use a slang phrase, that you were able to quantify with numbers? Because a lot of people talk about, hey, I'll bring in help and it's, magic is going to happen, right? But you were able to qualify it with numbers and say, hey, I did this, I spent this, and this is how much it made me. Can you give us an example of where that has happened?
Sure. Well, I can tell you about a client for sure. Actually, I've got a podcast as well, guys, and I've interviewed lots of my clients and success stories, but let's talk about one in particular. Her name is Rachel. Rachel came to me. She was struggling. She was, she's a professional. I don't want to say her industry, but she is a professional, and she works a 9 to 5. Took up a lot of her time. She was struggling with real estate for about a year, wasn't really gaining any traction. And she came to me to say, hey, is there something that you guys can do to help me? I need some help here. So I took a look at what she was doing. It was sporadic. She didn't have a source for, a good lead source. She didn't have a good source to get numbers skip traced. She didn't have a way to capture all that information to keep track of it, which we call in our industry a CRM, a customer relation management tool. You can use a spreadsheet when you get started, guys, but she didn't have that. She didn't have anything. She was literally taking notes in this little like planner book that she had, and that wasn't working out for her. So she came to me. We helped her implement processes, which was having systems in place. We assigned her virtual assistant. We assigned her 2 virtual assistants, actually. Those virtual assistants were able to help with list generation, market research, skip tracing, cold calling, qualifying those leads. And Rachel, within her first 2 months, was able to knock down 2 deals. On that second deal, that client that she was able to help out provided her another 32 deals. So every week since she's come on board with me as a client, she's closed a deal once per week. The gentleman gives her 1 deal, and they do a deal every week. So she's made a ton of money, starting off with making little to none in our industry for about a year, just spending all of her own money, to starting off with me, and a few months later to making over $40,000-$50,000 in a couple of months, and more to come. And it's still coming in. Like I said, that's just one of our success stories. So my good friend Tom Kroll, a friend of both of ours, he has a phrase that says, "Business is simple. It's people who are complicated." So business is simple. If someone's willing to come on and take heed to my tutelage and my guidance, then we can make this thing easy. It's just the people who get in the way. It's we get in our own way. I was one of those people.
Oh yeah, no, that's the truth. I think we're all that same person in some aspect of our lives. So let's jump into that. You're also a coach. So in what spaces are you coaching today? Let's start there.
Good question. Right now, I'm coaching in the real estate space. So if folks out there wanting to get into real estate, learn how to wholesale, do creative deals, I'm helping them out. My program is a little different or a little unique. I don't just give people a course and say go through a course, or have them join a large group and they join group calls every week or so. Those things are great, but my coaching is more one-on-one. I come in, my team, we actually build out the company for our clients and show them how to run the business. So we take all the guesswork out, all that time, all the fluff that's in a lot of programs or courses. We remove that so that we can get them to getting results as quickly as possible. And that's what we do. We help folks all over the country, and actually we have clients all over the world who invest here in the United States in real estate.
Okay, great. So you got international clients as well. That's awesome. Which proves real estate's real estate, right? And business
It's
is
real estate.
business anywhere in the world, not just got a lot to, people are like, I'd like to invest overseas, but and yeah, there's some rules and laws that are different, right? You gotta do your due diligence on that. But at the end of the day, if you're buying property, you're buying property anywhere, right?
Indeed, indeed.
And at the end of the day, buying and selling is still buying and selling. But now, so you've been coaching people though, you've been helping people, but you've also had coaches.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you, what's the best piece of advice you've gotten from a coach that once you implemented it, it was a huge game changer?
I would say Tom Kroll. I've said the phrase earlier today, guys, which is you've got to take massive imperfect action. Sometimes, guys, we can again get in our own ways because we think that everything has to be perfectly lined up before we can go. I have a phrase where I say you don't want to wait for all the lights to be green between here and your goals, which is here in your destination, which is your goals. As soon as that first light turns green, you got to go. And you got to have faith that by the time you get to that next light, you'll know exactly what to do, just like you knew what to do on that first light. So the biggest piece of advice is take massive imperfect action. Fail your way forward. The results will come. The momentum, you'll get the momentum. Don't
Awesome.
even focus on the results. Focus on being consistent. Consistency creates the momentum, and the momentum will get you the results.
Excellent. Excellent. So now if I'm a corporate person, should I go ahead and get a coach while I'm still in corporate?
Great question. And 100%, absolutely. You 100% should get you a coach. You're going to pay one way or another. You're going to pay either with your time. You're going to pay through failure, through multiple failures, and you may fail even with a coach, right? But with the coach, you've got someone who's right there. A good coach should be someone who's been there, who's done that, who can help you avoid some of the pitfalls that they have actually experienced. They've already wasted the money on it. They've already lost all the money, so that you don't have to. That's a good coach, not someone who has done a deal or two, and now they're good speakers, they're good looking, handsome, whatever. That won't necessarily may not be the best coach. You want someone who actually understands what they're coaching on a high level, and they can demonstrate it to you very easily. It shouldn't be complex for them to teach you that which you want to learn from them.
Oh no, that's absolutely true. And that's a great word. And it kind of brings up something to mind is, and you've done tons of deals, you've had a ton of success in the field. But I was talking to a friend yesterday and he told me a pet peeve, and I'd be interested in your thoughts on this. But he's like, Frank, I got a pet peeve. I'm like, what's your pet peeve? He's like, what is up with all the people that do like 5 little residential deals and all of a sudden they're selling coaching? And I've always thought, and I agree with him, but is it possible to only do a handful of deals and be an effective coach? Or do you really just have to be in it for a while and go through the ups and downs and the experience? Like, can you really get that in 4 or 5? I mean, what do you think about that?
That is a great question, brother. And I kind of touched on it a moment ago. So it is something that kind of rubs me a odd way, because this is why a lot of people spend their hard-earned money to invest into these coaches. And if you as a coach don't feel that you're doing a service by this client, don't do it. Don't go out there and take money just because you can take money. Because do I think you can be effective? Again, Frank, there's no absolute. So there may be instances where sometimes a coach has been effective, but in general, I feel that before you go out there and lead people, you got to know you've got to lead yourself. You've got to be a savior of self before you can save anyone else. So ensure that you really understand what you're doing. You need to have some failure in there as well. You don't just going out there, hey guys, I've done 4 deals and I'm crushing it. that's not really enough to me. You've got to know, what does it feel like to have the bad times, to go through, a few months without any deals, or to make deals where you're just breaking even with marketing dollars, paying your team. You've got to know what that feels like, because your clients are going to definitely be in that predicament, and you've got to be able to relate.
That is a good word. And and what you just shared reminded me of what you shared earlier about your own experience, where you had the high and then you were really low and you
Mhm.
almost quit.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, you ended up turning it into a double stepping stone. Wow. No,
Absolutely.
that is great. That's great. So you've been helping people for years now,
Mhm.
both in real estate. You've been helping them as a coach. Now you're doing helping people with their businesses, partnering alongside of them. At this point, you're having success in all these areas. What's most important to you now?
Time, time, and time with family, time to self-develop, time to grow. Time is our most valuable asset, guys. And the as I progress in life, as I mature in life, that becomes more apparent to me. So I value my time more than ever, and that is something that, being an entrepreneur has helped me get more of a grasp on. It is my personal time. Yes, you're going to spend a lot of time working as an entrepreneur. Don't think that it's just all, again, peaches and cream, but you have the ability to design that your life around your business versus having to design your job around your life. So keep that in mind for all the entrepreneurs that are out there. You always are in the driver's seat when it comes to your time and controlling your day. Just take control of it. It's that simple.
Wow, so you're always in the driver's seat.
Not
Wow.
always, but I strive to be. Strive to be.
Well, I mean, it's interesting when I think about that perspective about always being the driver. And I guess you really do have that choice, because even if something, quote unquote, knocks you out of that position, you always have the power to change your viewpoint about it.
Absolutely. And I knew you could relate to that driver's seat position, knowing that you're a big car buff as you are. So you get it. Either you're in the driver's seat or you're not. It's either you're there or you're not. There's no in between. So get in that driver's seat, guys. Take control of where you are headed.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And speaking of where we're headed, if you're interested in one of the services Sean's offering, I would highly encourage you to take a look at it. The links are going to be in the description below. So whether you're looking for coaching in the real estate space or you're looking for assistance with your business, he's not just going to like give you a resource. He's going to come partner with you. He's going to come alongside you and help you with that business. Maybe you need help with processes, systems, and so forth, like he discussed. So I definitely encourage you to follow him on social media and so forth. Connect with him, reach out to him, because it could be a great thing. So, Sean, I want to ask you one more question.
Sure.
So, if you had to do it over, what would you do the same and what would you do differently?
I would take action sooner than I did. Again, I spent a year feeling very comfortable. I put it into my head that I was being productive by going through the courses. I'm like, yes, I went through 8 modules today. I was extremely productive. Then tomorrow the same thing and the same thing without taking any action. So without taking action, how could I possibly see any results? So I would tell myself to take action right away. Don't think you got to learn everything about the industry. Learn what you need to know, and again, have faith that as you go through the process, you'll continue to learn. You'll continue to know. You'll things will come to you. You don't need to know it all up front. Don't worry about step 8 when you're on step 1. You just worry about how to get to step 2.
Love it. I love it. Just put your foot in the next step. That's all you got to worry about. I love it. Okay, I was wrong. I do have one last question. I saw an interview with you some time back, and that's where I thought you were in the medical field, because I heard it come up. So were you ever touching that, or did I just mishear it? Maybe I just misheard it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I was never in the medical field. I was never in the medical field. It could have been because in my old space I sold queuing technology. So I mentioned that I would go to hospitals and doctor's offices and things of that nature. So that may be where that came from. So when you
That's
go into a doctor's office and you pick that number, like now serving ticket 102 at window 8, that was me. I sold that technology to companies all over the world, all over the country, excuse me.
you weren't in the field, but you were selling the equipment.
Yes, yes.
Ah, okay. So I was like, surely my memory is not that bad.
It's like my memory is not that bad, guys. Come on. You're right, Frank. You're right.
All right, all right. I'm not crazy. Thank you. I just had to know I'm not crazy, you know, so it's very
Indeed.
like to be doing crazy stuff on the podcast. All right, no, that's cool. Hey, Sean, thank you. It's been an amazing interview. I appreciate you taking the time. These were just wonderful insights. And so again, for everyone out there, if you are looking to go from corporate to entrepreneurship, Sean's a great guy. Reach out to him. You'll see the links in the notes below. But maybe you're already an established entrepreneur as well, and you're just looking for someone to come alongside you, help you with your business. It sounds like he's got a ton of options available where he can absolutely help you. He's had success. He's got the success stories. Someone you definitely want to know. And again, if you just need a coach as well, might be a great resource. So again, Sean, amazing interview. Thank you so much for taking the time, and I look forward to connecting in the future.
Thanks for having me, Frank. Look forward to it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.